am a man who plays a lot of video games, and I like to cover as many video games as possible on this channel, but honestly, sometimes games sort of fall through the crack. Maybe I planned on doing a full review of a game, and just something else came along, because sometimes I like to pick games that I'm either think I'm really going to like, or really dislike in order to do a full review of them. But that doesn't mean that there aren't games that I've been playing that I feel are worth talking about, games that are really good, that are sort of flying under the radar. So that's what I want to talk about in today's video. Obviously, I play a lot of Nintendo Switch games, and recently I've been playing 5 Nintendo Switch games that I've really been enjoying. I really think they're good games, and I feel like not enough people are talking about them. So that's what I want to cover in this video, and then at the end of the video, we're also going to unbox a retro game treasure, because usually I'm very late at unboxing these things. So there's going to be all sorts of stuff to enjoy on this video. So sit back, relax, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and let's talk about the Nintendo Switch games that I've been playing lately, and look at some retro game treasure.
Hey, RGT85. Hey, Sean.
Oh my God, it's Stevie Richards!
Alright, so the first game I want to talk about that I've been playing lately is a game called XMorph Defense. Now, I actually downloaded this quite a while ago. I did get a review copy of the game, and then I just sort of forgot to play it. And honestly, I'm kind of ashamed of that, because this game is actually really, really good and really, really gripping. It's sort of a blend of two different genres, the tower defense genre and the shoot 'em up genre. Now, admittedly, I enjoy the shoot 'em up genre, but the tower defense genre is never anything I got super into. I remember enjoying games like Swords and Soldiers, but I never really got super invested into it. But I like how they blended these two genres into this game. Basically, you have to defend a certain area on the map, and the way you do that is by controlling a ship. Now, this ship can set up different parameters around the map in order to defeat enemies, and also you control that ship at all times. So you can basically blow up the enemies on your own free will. It kind of plays like a twin stick shooter in how you move with the left analog stick and control the bullets with the right analog stick. But I really like the way the game is done. It feels very fluid, you know, putting out different defense turrets and different defense mechanisms while shooting other enemies down is very seamless. I think the graphics are really well done, the environments look pretty nice, and there's some really cool big boss battles as well that just focus more on the shoot 'em up aspect more so than the tower defense aspect. There's a lot of different genres blended into this, but everything is pretty solid. The presentation is very good. Some of the voice acting is a bit hit or miss, but this is more of a budget title. It is an eShop only game, so I am willing to give it a pass, but I've really been enjoying this game. If you're a fan of games that are tower defense or fan of shoot 'em up games, I think you'll find something to enjoy in this game. Once again, this game is called XMorph Defense, and it's really good. I highly suggest you guys check it out if you're liking the footage and like tower defense games or shoot 'em up games. The next game I want to talk about was a big star of the latest Nindies Direct presentation, and admittedly I was pretty excited for it, but I thought it might have been a bit too much like The Messenger, just another 2D hack and slash game. But honestly, I was pretty wrong about that, and that game, of course, is Katana Zero. Now, a lot of people were buzzing about Katana Zero. I downloaded it a few days ago and finally got around to checking it out a few days ago as well, and honestly, I'm pretty impressed with this game. First and foremost, I really like the aesthetic. Yes, it is a 2D side-scrolling ninja-style game where you have to hack and slash your way through environments, but there's a lot of neo synth music going on here, that new wave synth music, and I'm really into that sort of stuff like Kavinsky and Danger. I've always enjoyed that sort of music, so the presentation and the aesthetic of the game is just absolutely fantastic, and the way you actually play the game isn't just like your run-of-the-mill hack and slash 2D side-scrolling adventure. You actually are put more into puzzle-like segments where you have to defeat the enemies without getting hit. If you get hit, you return to the front of the section that you are playing in, and so I really like that. There's a bunch of different ways to get through the levels, there's a bunch of different ways to take out the enemies, and then after you do it, it sort of recaps how you handle that section, and then you move on to the next section. It's very fast-paced, it's very violent, and there's an interesting story where you're meeting with a psychiatrist and trying to delve into your past and figure out why you are the way you are, and there's some really interesting twists and turns with this game. It's a really well done package, it's a really well done presentation, and I think it's going to be an absolute hit on the Nintendo Switch. If you've been waiting on Katana Zero, I say wait no more. It's definitely worth a game. It's definitely a game worth checking out, and definitely a game that I highly recommend, especially if you like 2D style games and you like that sort of 80s sort of vibe to it. It definitely hits all the right marks. Next up is a game that I've had for a little while, and that is Dragon Marked for Death. Now, I remember seeing reviews for Dragon Marked for Death, and they were all kind of, you know, a bit mediocre, and really playing the game, I'm not quite sure why that is, because I'm getting a lot of sort of Vanillaware vibes from this game, and Vanillaware games are good games, so I don't really know why a lot of people seem to be a bit turned off by this game. If you're a fan of Vanillaware games, you're probably going to enjoy this game. Once again, it is a 2D game that has sort of RPG elements, where you're playing in in different levels, completing different quests, and trying to level up your character. There's a good level of character customization where you can choose from one of 4 different characters and customize them to your liking with different colors, different weapons, and of course different voices. I really like the levels, the way that the levels are done. It seems like there's a good bit of exploration within the levels. There's a good bit of customization. You're getting a lot of different weapons and things like that. So it's pretty fun. There's local co-op, there's online multiplayer as well to play with a friend. And maybe that's where some of the problems come into play, because it seems like some of the enemies can be a bit too difficult for just the single player. But once you start leveling up your character and getting better weapons and really sort of figuring out how the game plays, I think it's a fantastic game. It has sort of a 32-bit aesthetic to it. It kind of reminds me of a Game Boy Advance or maybe a 2D side-scrolling PlayStation or Sega Saturn game, and I like that. You could sort of zoom in on the characters to zoom in on the action and see the pixel animation that they have going on. There's a lot of cool boss battles as well, very big bosses that you have to defeat at the end of each quest and each level. So there's a lot of free will to play this sort of game. If you're a fan of Vanillaware games, I really think you're going to enjoy this game, and it's kind of a shame that it's sort of flown under the radar, as it is an Inti Creates game, and Inti Creates has been doing great work on the Nintendo Switch. Dragon Mark for Death, if you do plan on picking it up, I suggest you pick up the physical version. It comes with all the DLC, it has all the content on one package, so that's definitely the best bet in my opinion. The next game I want to talk about technically isn't out in North America or Europe yet, but it is on the Japanese eShop, and you can go to a website like japancodesupply.com and pick up a Japanese eShop card and download it. And I highly suggest you to, because it is the beautiful, fantastic Virtua Racing. Now this is another M2 port. Of course, it is a part of the Sega Ages collection, and if you have any wonder about how the Sega Genesis Mini is going to turn out, check out M2's work on the Nintendo Switch, because it is absolutely fantastic. Virtua Racing, of course, was one of the first 3D racing games. In my opinion, it was the first 3D racer to have everything in 3D and have a nice smooth frame rate. It really put 3D racing games on the map. I know there was ones before them, like Hard Driving, but I always sort of assimilate the 3D racer with Virtual Racing, and the Nintendo Switch version of this game is absolutely fantastic. It's arcade perfect. Now, it does not feature the added content that was seen in things like Virtual Racing Deluxe on the 32X, but it does have all the content from the arcade version of the game. They've actually improved the draw distance as well, so it looks a bit more modern. All the colors really pop. The frame rate is super smooth, and of course there's additional stuff in here as well. Aside from things like online leaderboards, there's online races as well, there's offline races, and you can even do 8 players on one Nintendo Switch. I'm not joking. Like, this is absolute insanity. You could do 8-player local multiplayer on your television or even in the handheld mode, which is absolutely batshit crazy, but it still runs great. I don't have, of course, 8 friends to check this game out with, but I did check it out just as myself, because you can actually do that to check out the demo, and it still ran smooth. How practical is it? I mean, it's not very practical, but it's still cool to see the amount of work and attention to detail that M2 put into this game. If you have any fond memories of Virtual Racing, this game is a must own. It is arcade perfect, and better than the arcade in my opinion, because of the improved draw distance. Everything looks great, everything plays great, and it's a fantastic game. And the final Nintendo Switch game that I've been playing and putting a good bit of time into is Dragon's Dogma. Now, this was a game that I planned on doing a full review of last week on the channel, but then Mortal Kombat 11 came along. I ended up picking up these arcade 1-up cabinets and doing reviews on them. So I felt like I wasn't able to give Dragon's Dogma its chance to shine, but now I want to give it its chance to shine on this video, because it is a fantastic game. First and foremost, yes, this game is dated. It originally came out in 2012, and it kind of does look like a 2012 Xbox 360 game. There are times when the game looks really good, and then there's times when the game looks really dated. But this is a budget release. It is only a $30 release on the Nintendo Switch, and for $30, I'm pretty blown away by the amount of content that you get in this game. You play as a character named the Arisen, and you're basically trying to defeat this massive dragon that wiped you out along the beach, and you basically go into this world that's kind of reminds me a bit of Skyrim. It has that sort of Skyrim feel to it, where you go from various towns to towns, completing different quests, trying to help people. There's main story quests, there's a ton of different side quests that sort of flesh out the world that you're in. One very interesting thing about Dragon's Dogma is the pawn system, in which you basically get AI characters that are built by other players and put them in your party. You can have up to 3 additional characters, making for 4 total in your party, and it really sort of differentiates how you play the game. As someone who chose the fighter class, I would like to get magic people to go along with me and maybe have 1 additional fighter and 2 magic people to sort of beef up my roster, and it really plays a big big role, as there's times where you might go into an area and just absolutely get your ass kicked because you're underpowered, but you can get these other additional pawns and pretty much make it a much easier experience. There's a lot of different things to encounter in this game. There's a lot of different monsters. I really like the fact that you can climb on these monsters to defeat them. I think that's really cool. It does seem like the main game itself is a bit short. I'm like 3/4 of the way done with it, and I really don't feel like I've put enough time to be 3/4 of the way done with it, but admittedly I did get stuck on a section and had to look up an FAQ, and that's where I found out that I was about 3/4 done with the story. But like I said, there are a ton of additional side quests, and most of the side quests are pretty beefy in what you do. It's a really fun game. If you can get sort of past the dated visuals, I think it's a really enjoyable game, and if you're a fan of games like Skyrim or even a bit of a Xenoblade, I think you're going to have a great time with Dragon's Dogma, and the fact that it's $30 brand new is just an absolute great thing in my opinion. Alright, and to wrap things up, we have a box of Retro Game Treasure. Now, every month on the channel, I like to take a look at one of these. They do send me a box every month to check out on the channel, but there is no kickback from them. They don't pay me to do this or anything. They just send me a box and say, hey, check it out, and maybe your viewers will be interested. If you're not familiar with Retro Game Treasure, it is a monthly subscription service. You sign up via their website, you put what sort of games you want to collect, what games you like, and what systems you want to collect for. They have a checklist so that they can avoid sending you duplicates, and they update that checklist every month based on the games that they send you. So it's not a service for everyone, but if you're not someone who gets out there and gets a lot of retro games, or just someone who likes grab boxes and grab bags, I think it's pretty cool. Most of the boxes I've gotten have been pretty cool, so let's see what I got in this one. I like to open it and stare into your soul because I like to be a bit surprised here. Feels like a GameCube game, and it is Star Wars Rogue Leader, Rogue Squadron 2. Fantastic game. The Rogue Squadron games on the GameCube were absolutely fantastic, so I'm not quite sure if I own this one. I know I own 1 and 3, but I don't think I own 2, so now I have the whole trilogy, and that's pretty cool. Next up, we have a loose Sega Genesis game, and it is Jurassic Park. Welcome to Jurassic Park. I love this game. I remember playing this game as a kid over at my uncle's house, and it was just absolutely awesome. You know, it probably hasn't aged all that great, and there was, you know, the whole different weapon system where, like, you had tranquilizers, and then you had bullets, and then you had some annoying jumps in the game as well. But I always thought this was a really fun game, and as a kid and an adult still, I'm a huge fan of Jurassic Park, and I don't believe I own this one. I believe I only own the Rampage edition, so a great addition to the collection. There are 2 more games in here. You get anywhere from 3 to 5 games a month. The first game is a boxed game. It might even be new or something. Ooh, even better. A Dreamcast VMU, new in box. You know what? I will always take these because I like to play the Dreamcast, and I know Spawnwave just did the HDMI mod on his Dreamcast, so that's very cool. You know, a brand new VMU. Very stoked to get this. I will never turn down a free VMU, so hey, you might even get a VMU. And the final game is something sealed. It feels like a PS1, maybe a Dreamcast game. Let's see. Demolition Racer No Exit for the Dreamcast. I've never heard of this game, but it looks like a demolition style racing game. It looks kind of fun, so I mean, not bad. It's got Fear Factory on it. That's an older joke. If you're an avid viewer of the channel, you get that joke. But yeah, not a bad haul. We got Jurassic Park, we got Rogue Squadron 2 on the GameCube. I did not check to see if it has a manual. Does not have a manual, but that's okay. Box and disc is good enough for me. A new sealed edition of Demolition Racer No Exit on the Dreamcast, and a VMU. So not a bad haul. If you guys are interested, there is a coupon in the description box down below where you can save some additional money. Like I said, no kickback for me. But yes, so those are some Nintendo Switch games I've been playing. That is my latest box of Retro Game Treasure. I just kind of wanted to clear my plate going forward in the next few months because obviously things are going to get very busy, but I did want to talk about these games. So let me know in the comments section down below if you have checked out any of these games or if you plan on checking out any of these games. And as always, guys, thank you for watching this video. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. Check out other videos on the channel, and as always, I will catch you guys on the next one. Later.